Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As promised here, today we're going to do the power on and off switch as well as the volume switch here on our Arcade1up. Now I unhooked these. This is just for demonstration purposes. You do not have to unscrew this thing on here, but I just wanted to show you a little bit better visual here of what's going on. So you have your power on and off two switch on the left, and then the volume switch on the right, which is a 3-click switch there. And it's just important to know what wires are where, what does what. Power is straightforward. It's two of them on there. We're just going to go to our pins 5 and 6. Now on the volume switch, you have on the far left is your low level. Then you have your ground level in the middle, and on the right is your high volume. Your wires might look different colors. You might have like a black, then a brown, and a white wire. I use this one because it's easy visual, red, white, and blue. So the blue is the low, red is ground, white is high. Now you got to be careful here because Arcade1up has done this in the past with the joysticks, and it's on here as well. At the end, as you can see, it's switched. I have the ground now on the far right, the high in the middle, and the blue, the low, on the left side. So when we hook this up to our GPIO pins, we're going to need to put the top, the red one, to our ground, and then the bottom two is going to go to our GPIO pins. So you just got to make sure. Now if yours is in the middle, then you're going to need to switch it up. So since my ground is on top, we're going to use pin 14, 16, and 18. That's the 7th one down on the far right, the 8th one, and the 9th one down. Like I said, if your ground is in the middle, then you may want to go with 12, 14, 16. Okay, but if yours looks like mine, then it's going to be 14, 16, and 18 pin, which is what you're going to use hooking this up. And like I said, the on and off switch is on top. It's the third pins down. It's pin 5 and 6, your GPIO and ground pin. So as long as you connect it, it doesn't matter where this thing goes, as long as you're using the ground and the two GPIO pins for your volume. And then same thing with the power switch. We have our ground and our GPIO on the top. Just make sure you do not use the SV power or the 5V power switch there, because that could do a lot of damage to your Pi. So yeah, pretty straightforward. If anybody has any questions, let me know on here. But this is the layout of the pins. I want to give you guys a little bit more visual of what's going on, where things should be going. Now we're going to configure this later on. If you use different pins than I am using here, we'll go into our configuration file there, where we could make the proper changes on which pins we're using. Okay, but if yours looks like mine, like I said, it's going to be pin 14, 16, and 18 on here. So let's grab our wire here, and we have our Raspberry Pi. So do the volume switch on here first. So if you take a look at the Pi here, we have our pins on the right. And once again, we're using 14, 16, and 18. So that's the 7th one down. It's going to start it off. So we'll count down 7 pins, and that's where we're going to connect this thing. The 7th and 8th and the 9th pin on the far right. Alright, so let's grab our wire here. Make sure my ground is on top, which is the red one. Oops. I'm trying to do this with one hand here. But okay, so there we go. Let's count this down. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There it is. Make sure that goes in properly. And it does. So if we take a look at it here, should be 6 pins above it there. So we're using the 7th pin to have this connected. So yours should look something like this if your wires are like mine on here. If not, like I say, you just may need to make a slight adjustment on the pin that you're using. And then the on and off, this one's pretty self-explanatory here. It's the 3rd pins down, pin 5 and 6. Let's connect that one in there. And that's pretty much all to it on the wiring aspect. Very simple on here. Okay, and now the reason why we're using this script on here, we've been using the same type of script for quite some time now, but there's been an update on the RetroPie, the settings on here as far as the sound goes, where they've made some changes, and the if you have updated your RetroPie, you may have rebooted. Now the switch either no longer works or it doesn't function as it did before. This is the reason why. It's because of the changes that they made to the board. Also, if you try to use the Raspberry Pi 4 on here, you're going to run to a lot of technical issues as well. And this is the main reason. So as you can see on here, the changes that were made, they no longer use the PCM on here. It's been changed to HDMI on here, as well as the OMX has been switched on here. And the script did use that. Now, I was going to go in the script there, make the proper changes on here to make this thing work. If anybody wants to do that, feel free to do so if you want to still use the old script. But someone already beat me to it on here. He already configured things, made things work out here. So I'm going to use his. It's very simple. This guy, Orlando on here, just did a fantastic job. I have a link to his GitHub page on there where you're just going to copy and paste one line of command, and it's going to install everything. There's no need of installing multiple items on here or merging files on here. None of that, as we previously had to do, or separate script for the on-off and the volume. It's all done on the same script on here. One line of command is all that you're going to copy and paste on here. So let's go to that GitHub page on here that he has. I'll show you, and if you want to pull up the files, if you want to go into more depth, you could check out the files of what's going on here. But if you scroll down, you see this command here. Let's just grab this. We're going to copy and paste this over into our terminal. Now, you could type this out if you're on the emulation station screen. Just hit the F4 key and type this whole thing out, and it'll work as well. But make sure you type it all correctly. If you don't want to make any mistakes, just copy paste, pull up the terminal or your PuTTY on here. Make sure SSH is enabled and you're connected to the Wi-Fi. And then we're just going to copy and paste this thing right here. Hit enter, and it's gonna do its thing on here. Just gonna install everything, get the wiring done and all that here for you. Once this thing completes and is done on here, it's just gonna ask you a few questions. Now there is a power switch on here. There's also a volume switch and a power relay switch. We'll do the video on the power relay in a different time. For now, focus on the power on and the volume, but the relay command script is also included, but we're going to skip this for this demonstration purpose on here. What that button does is basically how the on and off puts the Pi in standby mode. And if you have other stuff also connected to this, the relay switch pretty much shuts everything down completely. So I'll have another tutorial video regards to that. But for now, let's take a look here. So this thing's done installing. First on the power switch, you're going to press Y here to install this. If you do not want to do the power switch at this point, any key that you press besides Y will skip it. You could always go back to this script on here. You could rerun this, and then the ones that you skipped on here, you could install and configure those through the script. So that could always be done, and we're also will be able to configure this thing. I'll show you guys that in a little while. Volume here, same thing. Press Y to install it. And then for now on the relay, I'm gonna skip that part. So like I said, any key besides Y, we'll skip it. And that's it. It's going to ask you to reboot. But before we reboot there, let's make sure we got everything right here. type out this command. We have a new directory that's been created, Arcade1up. So you're going to do nano space Arcade1up slash config slash config again, and then .ini. And this will take us here to the configuration screen. And if you need to make the proper change as far as your pins here, the low and the high, as you can see right here, we're using 16 and 18. If yours is different, you'll make that change here. And also the volume control here, he initially has this low, medium, high. If you want it in the off state, we're going to change low to 0, and that'll put it as mute. And then you could play around with the other ones on here. Change the medium to 80 or 85, and I'll keep the high as 100. Like I said, you could do what settings you want. Once you're done, you're going to do Control X, hit Y for yes, and then press Enter. That'll save the file here, and then a simple reboot here will make this work. So let's do sudo reboot, and once this starts up, everything should be functioning properly on here. Make sure your power switch is in the on position if you installed the power switch. And then for the volume switch, you may have to flick the switch a few times there, and then it will program itself on there. So once it's rebooting, you should have your low, medium, high volume settings working. On the power switch, I have mine always plugged into a power surge adapter like this, and I like to put the display power switch on top, and then my Raspberry Pi plug towards the bottom of the prongs on there. So that usually helps. And also the way you shut things down. Throughout the day you could always use the switch, and then at night if you're gonna power everything down, make sure you shut down first. Wait a few seconds. Sometimes it may write a few things into the Pi there, and then you could turn it off. As always, any questions, comments, leave them below on here. Let me know if this thing works. I've tried the Pi 3, Pi 4, and all have worked here thus far with no issues. If you do run into issues, let me know on here. Enjoy, guys. Till next time.